Welcome to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher, where we take you behind the scenes with peak performers to learn what makes them tick and discover how you can apply their lessons to your life. I'm your host, Molly Fletcher. If you're a fan of Peloton or college football, you will definitely be fired up for today's guest. Jess Sims is a top Peloton instructor and the newest member of ESPN's College GameDay. Widely known for her work as a fitness instructor, Jess left a career in education to pursue her passion. After teaching in studios in New York City, she became a global sensation when she joined Peloton in 2018 as a tread instructor, teaching classes to over 7 million subscribers worldwide. A former college basketball player at Trinity College, she also worked with the WNBA's New York Liberty as an in-arena host and reporter, and just recently formed a partnership deal with Jordan Brand. In today's conversation, we talk about changing careers, going for opportunities, and stepping in to new situations with confidence. Let's jump right in. This is my conversation with Jess Sims. So Jess, listen, man, I want to start with sports, right? I mean, it's a common thread for us. What role did athletics play in shaping who you are, your identity, all that?
I mean, what role did it not play, to be honest, Molly? It's so funny because life happens as you're moving forward, but it only makes sense when you look backwards. And looking backwards, I learned all the big life lessons through sport. So all the transferable skills that have helped me in all of the different, categories that I'm in right now, dealing with setbacks, dealing with challenges, compassion, discipline, love, teammates, mental health, physical health, getting to know the anatomy of your body, which is so important. It's something that a lot of people take for granted. So I've literally learned everything through sport. And it's not only just learned through sport, it's reinforced through repetition, through practice. So it's not like that one and done life lesson. It's like, no, we're going to do hard things at this practice, and then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to do it again. So I credit so much to sports.
After being a college athlete, right, you did Teach for America and then became a teacher. Get me inside of that. Like, what drew you into that field?
So to be honest, there was no, when I was younger, I might have said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I might have said teacher, but I was never gung-ho on being a teacher. I double majored in psychology and Hispanic studies at Trinity in Hartford. And I said, you know what? Like, what am I going to do after I graduate? I was thinking about doing speech language pathology, but I went into the bathroom at Ferris Athletic Center at Trinity. And, in colleges, they have all those bulletin boards and pamphlets and stuff. And I looked up and it said, Teach for America. One day, all students will have an equal opportunity to education. And I was like, And I said, I'm going to do that. And it was in 2010. That's when I graduated. So I guess that was 2009. And it was a year where lots of job issues were happening. So a lot of people were applying. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, if you don't get it. I'm like, no, I'm getting it. And I can't even explain to you because I don't find those feelings often, but when I do, I feel them in my heart and soul. And so I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. And so anyways, I got it and I'll never forget. I got the call and they were like, congratulations, you got Teach for America. You're going out to Houston, Texas. And so I called my mom, and I'm from Boston. My whole family's from Boston. I don't know a soul in Texas, let alone Houston. So I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, I got it. She's like, where are you? New York, Chicago, LA? And I was like, Houston. And she's like, oh, well, at least you got it. That's so great. You can tell people you got it. And I was like, no, Mom, I'm going to Houston. And She was perplexed. But yeah, so looking back, it makes so much sense, Molly, because I love people. I love learning. And if you are a teacher, you have to continue learning. So it goes hand in hand. I love helping people become the best versions of themselves. And I possessed a lot of leadership skills from a very young age. I was kind of an old soul. I was not always the best player on any of my teams, but I was always the one that cared the most, that would throw on the knee pads, the mouth guard, dive on the floor for loose balls, take all of the charges. And if one of the lead scorers on my team had an off night, I'd say, hey, let's meet at the gym tomorrow morning. I'll rebound for you for an hour. So all of these leadership skills started as a young kid, but then through sports were reinforced. And then when I was a teacher, literally, I was the leader of my classroom. And as a 22-year-old, and I taught at first when I did the summer school, I taught middle school. So I had like 15-year-olds as a 22-year-old. And then I taught fifth grade and third grade, my first 2 years teaching. And you have to be confident and fake it till you make it. I know some people don't like that saying, but that saying saves so many people, including teachers, because you can't walk in there and say, this is my first day or my first year teaching. I used to tell kids, I'm 67 years old. This is my 24th year of teaching. I told everyone that. I kept it going. And they're like, oh, come on. And I'm like, nope, because that's, you're the one that's in charge. You're the one. And if the kids see that you are confident and kids see that you have the control, they respect you. And they're like, okay, I feel safe here. I can now learn here because my teacher cares about me.
Where do you think that confidence came from?
Oh, so that's a great question. Because this is going to catch a lot of people by surprise, but I do not consider myself a confident person. It's something that I practice daily. I am one of those that has always focused on my insecurities and my shortcomings versus my wins. And that's something that I've really worked on myself in the last 6 years, specifically, I would say. And because when I was a teacher, I'll never forget, I knew I was weird when we all, as new teachers, sat in a circle. We talked about talk about a feeling or a time when you felt amazing in your classroom where everything went right and this and that. And everyone was walking around and they were like, oh yeah, when my principal came in and gave me a glowing review, this and that. And they came to me and I was like, when my principal gave me a glowing review, I got anxiety because I was like, how am I going to keep this up? How am I going to one up myself? What if I can't do this? What if he walks in and I'm not doing a beautiful, fun Disneyland lesson and I'm doing more of a worksheet, situation? And so the confidence has always been fake it till you make it for me. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely confident in certain areas. And confidence now I realize comes from experience. It comes from, Jess, you've put in the work. So trust yourself. And also the competitor in me, as you can probably attest to this with yourself, is there was a meme years ago that was super popular on Instagram that was like, there is someone who is less qualified doing exactly what you want to do simply because they went for it. And I'm like, you know what?
I'm going for it.
Yes, I'll be damned if I'm going to be like, oh, I have to wait till I get all these certifications. I'm going to wait till I have all these years. No, I'm going to go and do my best. That's what I'm going to do. And that's going to be enough.
No question. I mean, confidence comes through action, right? For sure. And you took action, right? So you teach for America, but then you leave that space to take an opportunity with Peloton, which, by the way, I heard you played a little hard to get with Peloton.
Well, it's fun. So now it's wild, Molly, because I've now been in fitness officially this month in September for 6 years, and I was in education for 6 years. So there's something I'm playing with. Like, is there like a 6-year thing that you're going for, Jess, or what is it? Because I was in education for 6 years and I held a different role every year. I did 5th grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten, ops director, assistant principal, principal. And within that, every summer, I did something different working for Teach for America. And I also got my master's in teacher leadership at the University of St. Thomas in Texas. And so I was learning. And I wasn't realizing it at the time, but there was always something missing in each one of my roles. And as I said, like Steve Jobs says that as like, you live your life moving forward, but it only makes sense looking backwards. And so looking backwards, I'm looking and I'm like, wow, when I taught 5th and 3rd grade, I coached 2 co-ed basketball teams. Wow. When I was a kindergarten teacher, I lived for indoor recess because I taught the kids Zumba. I lived for outdoor recess because we, played softball. Then when I was the operations instructor and assistance principal, I did an advisory program where we brought yoga, meditation. We shrunk the school into smaller groups so that the kids could have real conversations about current events and how they're feeling instead of just, sticking them in a classroom and saying, hey, absorb this knowledge and memorize this. And then when I was a assistant principal back home in Boston, where that was kind of I thought I was going to be super happy there. It was where I grew up, where my dad was born and raised, where I was born. It's where I played the majority of basketball. So I got to come into my Blackness in Lynn, Massachusetts. I felt super rooted, super grounded. And that's where I was the assistant principal. And I taught PE to kindergartners. We did muscle of the day, movement of the day, all this fun stuff, but still something was missing. And my boyfriend at the time, he was in fitness, and I just saw how fulfilled he was and just, how exhausted he was at the end of the day. But he's like, I'm changing lives. This is incredible. And I'm like, wow, I love that. And he's like, yeah, you should do it. And I'm like, no, stop it. I have a whole career. I'm a principal in 6 years, like, no, my parents would kill me. And I said, oh, I'm supposed to be a teacher. I felt that in my core. I was like, I'm supposed to be a teacher. And he said, yeah, what if you are meant to be a teacher, but you're just in the wrong setting? And that was this like aha moment where I'm like, you're absolutely right. And so I was stifled in the school setting, but I was lifted and hopeful in a gym setting and in a space where I can have one-on-one conversations with people and really help them. And not just, have that interaction or transaction, like, hey, do this. It's like, no, I want to know how you are. How are you feeling today in mind, body, and soul? Yeah. So I ended up leaving the Boston area and Lynn, came back to New York City in January of 2016. And that's when I was going to pursue fitness full time. But the school that I was at in Harlem, they had just let their principal go and they asked me to come back temporarily. So I was the principal January through June of 2016. And during that time, I got a fitness Instagram. I started studying. I was a student of the craft, right? The learning. I would go to every single boutique studio here in New York City and learn like, what makes a great instructor great? What makes a not so great instructor not so great? Music, programming. I got multiple certifications from personal trainer to group to kettlebell to rowing to so many different ones. And I realized what I wanted to teach. So I started coaching boxing and then I started coaching HIIT training. And so Rebecca Kennedy, who was the director of Tread at the time, she always came to my boxing classes and she said, hey, let's go get coffee. And so we got coffee and she was like, hey, I want to tell you about this thing. You got to sign an NDA. But yeah, Peloton, which I only knew obviously as a bike company at that point, she said, Peloton is coming out with a tread. Would you want to be an instructor? Would you want to come on an audition? And she rattled off all these amazing things. And I'm like, that's so cool. That I don't have that, health insurance, time off. Like, what is a laptop? Wow. Because that's unheard of in the fitness industry. And so I was like, wow, I can see longevity there. But I said to her, I said, you know what? Let me think about it. And I thought about it and I was choosing, I got to be careful with my words. It's not that I wasn't ready. I was choosing not to be ready yet because I still had room to grow in the places that I was at. I was not feeling confident about my own body, about my own mind, about my own routine and my coaching. And so I said, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm going to hold off. And so for a full year, I put my head down. I said, all right, if you said you were going to do all those things, you better get everything out of those things. And so I did. And I got a little bit of on camera experience. And I said, wow, like this is really, really cool. And I think the thing that did it for me, Molly, was my driving force behind everything that I do, my value is that I want to add value to others. I want to have an impact on others. And so just like when I was a teacher and I was grappling with, should I leave the classroom to go into administration? I don't want to leave the kids. I had a great friend that said, Jess, you are leaving 27 kids to now impact 27 teachers who each have 27 kids. And with Peloton, I was like, you know what? I love having the face-to-face interaction with all, the people that come to take my classes. But I was teaching a class for 45, 50 minutes that lived and died in those 45 and 50 minutes to those anywhere between 12 and 40 people, depending on which studio I was at. And those people had to be in studio. I didn't get to talk to people in Nebraska, Australia, London. And so I had that same feeling of like, wow, with Peloton, I'm broadening my impact. And so that was it for me. I said, okay, I reached back out. I said, okay, these are the reasons why I'm ready this time. And like, can I audition? So I auditioned in July of 2018 and I got the job in August. I started right after Labor Day. So this is literally my 4-year anniversary.
It sounds like it started with that question, right? Like maybe you are a teacher, but you're in the wrong setting. I think there's so many people in the world who maybe are feeling a little stuck, right? That are waking up and they're going through the motions, but their day, they don't approach it and go, this is amazing, right? I love what I am waking up and doing every day. What advice would you have for people that are maybe in that space? What question would you tell them to ask themselves to get clear on the shift?
That's a great question. Don't get me wrong. I love my jobs. I love all my jobs because now I have several of them, but I love them, but they're not perfect. They're not always Disneyland and things like that. So I think that one, we have to get out of our heads that the phrase, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. That's not true. And I love Dr. Maya Angelou. She said, someone asked her, what's your dream job? And she says, I do not dream of labor. And I think that that's really important, that at the end of the day, it is still work. So there are going to be days where you're like, I don't want to do this. And days where like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? But what I think it comes down to, Adam Grant actually just posted about this not too long ago on Instagram, talk about finding your passion and following your passion. And one, that's a luxury. And two, passions can change really quickly. What passions bring you joy, but your values bring you meaning and longevity. And so I think that I would say to someone who's stuck, who's feeling stuck and feeling like, what do I do? I would say, what are your values? What are the things that would get you out of bed if you didn't have to worry about, a paycheck, anything like that, but something that fuels you, something that gives you enough meaning where you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to do this today. Even though I don't feel like it per se, I'm going to, because I know how important it is.
Yep.
That's what I would say.
Well, that helps you unlock your purpose, right? I mean, if you, I always say when you know why you do what you do, it changes what you do, right? And if you get clear on your values and then align your behavior with it, hopefully it's aligning with what your purpose is.
Yes.
What do you do as an athlete, right? We hear so often, I mean, motivation is fleeting, but discipline, is something that obviously is steadfast that we want to stick by. What do you do when you aren't feeling motivated? You got a lot of people pulling on you now, right? Like you got to show up with a whole lot of energy, a lot. And maybe sometimes you don't feel like it.
Correct.
What do you, that's a fake it till you make it line right there, girl.
Right.
So what do you tell yourself then?
Motivation is BS in a lot of ways, because that word, it crushes me in so many ways when people say like, I am not motivated to do X. It's like, no, the action, like what you actually will do will then in turn build the habits for this to become a discipline for you. I think my biggest thing is habits. I hate the word goals. And even when I say goal, I like even stop myself to be like, I want to say target. Like that's my target, because goals are great because they give you a direction to go in and they give you something to think about. But your habits are literally what allow you to accomplish any goal. So you change the way that you eat. Sure, you're going to lose weight probably, but you're going to also feel better. You're also going to be a better partner, human being, all these other things. And when you do those things, the sky's the limit.
Maybe you've lost your purpose and that inner fire to pursue your dreams. If so, you are not alone. So many of us have been there. As a top sports agent for 15 years, representing and working with the best of the best, I've seen and helped countless people unlock their drive to accomplish great things and finally live out their dreams. That's why I've crafted a brand new on-demand course to help you unlock your potential to fuel next level success. In my new course, Up Your Game, I share the critical 8 keys that you absolutely must use to get unstuck and to finally realize your fullest potential. This course, it's not inspirational fluff. It gives you action guides so that you can apply it to your life and take action right now. So are you ready to up your game? Sign up for my new course today at mollyfletcher.com/course. That's mollyfletcher.com/course. I can't wait for this course to change your life in incredible ways. Check it out.
For me specifically, motivation. If I'm really not feeling, because yes, I'm disciplined, so that's important. I ask myself, what's going on with you that you're not feeling it right now? And oftentimes, Molly, the answer is I need rest. So there are times where I actually allow myself to not be so gung-ho and actually decompress, meditate, talk to my life coach, cuddle with my dogs, and really listen to myself, because so often when we work so many jobs and so many hours and doing different things, we don't stop to ask ourselves, what do we need in this moment? And I think that that's a huge miss, because the more you know yourself, the better you can say, oh, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. Like I need to take it before I have this serious conversation with my boss. I need to take a beat. I need to pull back for a second. You know what? Uh, there's something going on with me personally, so I don't want to go to the gym right now because I know that I'm not going to be able to focus and be present. So I'm going to handle this and then I'm going to go to the gym. So I just think the more you know yourself, the better. So I would first ask myself, like, what do you need? Do you need rest? Do you need that? And then the other thing is, I'm the biggest advocate for working with a life coach, a therapist, whatever someone has access to. I think that the key for me is mantras, because sometimes I can get stuck in my own head and then get in my own way. And I want to be in a state of flow. I want to be in a state of surrender to what is, and then just continuously say something to myself like, yes, this is tough and I'm tougher. Doing one small thing can completely shift my day. Like those are things that I say to myself. I actually have them I have the tread and the bike in the next room over. And I literally have all of these mantras posted up there because it's like a menu. It's in those moments where you're so stuck, you're not thinking clearly and you can't trust yourself when you're not thinking clearly. So it's nice to have an arsenal, whether it's in your phone, visual, your notebook, your wall, whatever it is, to recenter and bring yourself back to the present.
We tell ourselves stories, right? And what I'm hearing you say is if there's a negative story that you're telling yourself, you shift that and lean into a mantra or two or three or five or your favorites to retell, to shift the story, which changes everything. I love it. There's so many people that, unfortunately compromise their health because of other demands. And the data shows that, right, if people had another hour in a day, they do what they were already doing. They wouldn't do
100%
fitness. Right. So what advice do you have for someone who's maybe struggling to make fitness, wellness a priority in their life?
Some things motivate others more than others. But my girl, Dr. Chelsea Jackson Roberts, she teaches yoga and meditation at Peloton. She always says, drink as you pour. And I think that that's something that's really, really important because it's very visual for me. So I can literally imagine, you as you're pouring out, you also have to replenish. And if you don't believe me, try it. Try it for a week where you promise yourself that you're going to wake up 30 minutes earlier to fit in a 15 to 20 minute workout, because it's not about duration. It's about consistency. And when you consistently do something, you are literally rewiring your brain. And you are going to start feeling better. When you look better, you feel better. When you feel better, you do better. It is going to be this trickle effect that affects everything. Your kids are going to be like, Mom, Dad, why are you in such a better mood? Oh my gosh. Like your face looks brighter today. Yeah. Your smile is a little bit, and it's because we start to take care of ourselves. And the other thing, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for the people around you to start. If you're one of those people that, feel more motivated to do things because of the impact that it has on others, like myself, understand that when you take care of yourself, you're setting the tone for your kids. You're setting the tone for the people who work around you. I was going to say, if you're their boss, it doesn't even matter if you're their boss, because I have so many friends that are like, Jess, I came into my meeting all sweaty and red-faced, and everyone was like, wow, you just worked out. You had time. And my friend was like, yeah, I made my salad so that I didn't have to, run out. And now I had an extra 15 minutes. So I did a 10-minute intervals run on the tread. And they're like, oh, wow. And it affects everyone. If everyone took care of themselves 1% more than they currently do, the world would be a significantly better place.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. When we think about what you do, when we think about how you do it, so often in life, I think, and what I'm hearing you say is you anchor your work in your purpose. And that purpose is generally about others. But you have, Jess, an unbelievable amount of drive, right? That's evident. I always say that it's not about talent, it's about drive. And it's not about the drive to achieve, it's the drive to get better. And to me, drive can actually, if it's a healthy drive, it can offset burnout. Tell me a little bit about where do you think your drive comes from? Because I don't think drive is something you're born with. I think that you can cultivate it in your life through little moments. But how have you cultivated drive and how do you sustain it?
The first thing that comes to mind is my dad. My dad played sports his whole life, so I definitely get that the athleticism from him. My mom, not so much. Love her, but not so much. And my dad worked 2 jobs. He was the sergeant of the police department, and he owned his own painting company where he employed his whole family. So my dad worked 18 to 20-hour days, 6 days a week. and still made time he never missed a basketball game. Never. And he would literally drive, whether it's 2 to 6 hours to the games to just show up. Because one, he genuinely enjoys basketball, obviously. He loves the sport, but he loves me so much and just knew how much showing up for me meant. And so I would say drive comes from my dad. He always said he wanted to give his kids, my brother, my sister, and I, a much better life than he had. And he sacrificed so much in order to give us that. And my mom was born to mom. My mom her love is so strong. And so I think that the combination of the two of them really jump-started that within me. But then I really think, Molly, there's something that you're born with too. And then yes, 100% cultivated, because if you're born with something and you don't do anything with it, then you're not going to have anything. But my little sister, she's 6 years younger. I still think she's like 2 years old, but she's much older now.
I hope your mom and sister don't listen to this episode.
I know. I always say my baby sister, she's not a baby. She's married and everything. When she was living at home still, she sent me a picture of my preschool report card. So I was 4 years old, Molly. And it said, likes to be right, puts lots of pressure on self, confident at times.
Wow.
And not much has changed.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's not much. And so I think that through sports and through my life experience, I've just always been, I didn't ask for a lot of help growing up. And that's what my mom and I butted heads so much, because my mom loves to mom and I wasn't easily mommed.
Got it.
Especially compared to my brother and sister. I always wanted to do things by myself. And I think that is just, that stems from my genuine curiosity. I'm just so curious about things, how things work, why they don't. I asked a million questions growing up and still do. And I love rules only if they make sense. There's so much to that. And so I think that curiosity led me to go down to Texas. It led me to study abroad in Barcelona when I was in college, led me to have all these unique experiences that had me meet people from all walks of life. And I just really love working with people and learning about people. So I think that drive has just been fostered through the experiences that I've been curious about.
Yeah. Curiosity totally can unlock drive, I think. And curiosity creates chances. It creates possibilities, like game day.
Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you, that is money, girl. We've had Kirk on the show, which has been
He's the
fun.
best.
He's awesome. You stepped into this role. What gives you the courage at some level to step into this, right? And I heard, you sort of said, I know you had some reps doing some smaller gigs in advance of that, but get me inside of that a little bit.
Yeah. So I did, I still am doing hosting for the WNBA. So for the New York Liberty, I was doing in-arena hosting for 2 years. And then I also hosted the Big East Women's College Basketball Tournament this past February. And so love sport. Like I talk about them in all my Peloton classes, everything about it. My Saturday 60, I'm literally talking about how that class was made based off of that feeling of being on the basketball court, struggling through a practice, struggling through a sprint or whatever it is. So the beautiful thing about Peloton is we have over 7 million members worldwide. So everyone is taking these classes. And specifically, if you are an athlete, you are attracted to certain classes. And so I have a lot of athletes and former athletes that take my classes. And so with my agency over at Excel, my agent Gideon said, hey, I want you to meet with someone from ESPN just to chat, get to know them, see, what's going on, if they have anything, and vice versa. I'm like, okay, cool. So it was right after I ran the Boston Marathon. When I tell you I had this runner's high, but it wasn't like this over the top energetic. It was just this calm, but confident and just, I can't even explain the feeling because it lasted for several days. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. But I met with a rep from ESPN 2 days after I got back. And so I was still riding that high, and we just chatted about life and just what I wanted to do and what I was interested in and just similar stuff we've been chatting about. And we shook hands. We said, thank you so much. Like, if there's anything that we have for you that we think might be a good fit, we'll reach back out to Gideon. Okay, great. A week and a half, 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, can she come out to Bristol? We think we have something for her. And so I met with 3 guys, and the guy that I met with the first time, and before I left, they were like, we actually think this is a really good fit. We're going to have you meet with our boss. And so I met with her, and it was, signed, sealed, delivered.
Took off.
But it took off. But I'll tell you, so once I realized the magnitude of what I was getting myself into, of course, I had that like imposter syndrome, that doubt, that, oh my gosh, why me? But let me tell you, this team is, first of all, so incredibly supportive, so incredibly committed to evolving. The show's been around for 36 years, and it's been a top show for 36 years. And it's not because it stayed the same. They're constantly looking for, how to make it better every year.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, there were 3 guys and 1 woman who take my classes. And they know me, Molly. So it's not like I'm a wild card. They know me. They know the names of my dogs. They know where I play basketball. They know me. So when they said to me, Jess, this is the perfect marriage for you. Jess, we know you're going to crush this. Jess, I felt that and I received it. And I'm like, why would I fight this? These people know me. They're in my corner. They know both. They know me and they know Game Day. So if they're saying that this is the perfect marriage, trust it and believe it. And it's been incredible.
I love that. I mean, that made you feel safe at some level to step into a big stage, right?
Yes.
I mean, and you're killing it. You're killing it, girl.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And then we got the Jordan Brand family that's dropping into your world, which is just completely cool. Particularly, I would imagine as a basketball player, right? Playing in college. I mean, this has got to be a little, surreal. What does this partnership entail, right? Get me inside of that partnership a bit.
So it is something that I still can't even wrap my head around, girl.
That's just, man.
And again, it goes to my core values. It's meaningful. I'm only one of 70 athletes for Jordan Brand, where it's small, it's close-knit, it's rooted in sports. It's rooted in basketball specifically, but rooted in sports. And it's one of its many values is to uplift the Black community. And that is so, so important to me. And so because it's so small and because we have the luxury of designing whatever partnership we want, the sky's the limit. There is no ceiling. And so it's really, really cool to kind of figure out, if I have an idea, it's like, oh, this is happening. I can shoot someone a text and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, okay, great, done. Let's do it. So it's really, really cool how we're building this ship while we're on it, and we can do whatever we want. Like there is no, oh, you have to do X, Y, Z. It's whatever we feel that will serve both Jordan Brand and myself.
And it aligns with your values, as you said, aligns with your purpose. Do you have a personal mission statement, Jess, like a personal purpose statement, or is it the mantras that you referenced? I mean, get me inside of the vetting. You got a lot of opportunities that come at you, right? So you've got to vet them through something. What do you vet them through? Your values, your purpose statement? Get me inside of that.
Yeah, so I do. I definitely, and I have so many notebooks. Once a teacher, always a teacher. I have so many notebooks and so many different versions of personal mission statements for sure. But I always try to add value, make someone laugh, teach them something, or inspire someone. Those are kind of like my guiding principles in what I do. And I guess teach/help. So I guess you could say there's 5. I stand in the spotlight so that other people can come stand there with me and own their own space and their own lives, because we only have one life, and I'll be damned if I waste this one. That's my biggest fear, is not living up to my potential. So that's what pushes me when I want to retract, when I want to say no to a big opportunity, when I want to say, oh my gosh, why would they choose me? I'm like, why would I downsize myself? Why would I downplay my greatness?
Hi again, it's Molly. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're a go-getter who wants to conquer overwhelm and sharpen your focus, I want to let you know about my new free webinar training, Purposeful Productivity. This free webinar gives you a framework to unlock more energy for what matters most and to finally beat burnout. Head over to mollyfletcher.com/webinar to access this free training and my new life-changing energy management framework. That's mollyfletcher.com/webinar. Great athletes to me always ask themselves, where will I spend my energy? Not really where will I spend my time. So you've got to also be able to say no and hit that no button. Probably a lot.
Yes.
Is there a mindset or a habit, if you will, that you have around managing your energy effectively so you can show up as your best self, whether it's for game day or a class?
I think it goes back to that question of what do I need in this moment? Because I feel like I'm an extroverted introvert. I know that will probably catch a lot of people by surprise because I am so energetic and enthusiastic. But when I'm not on, I'm off. I'm home. So I'm either working, I might grab dinner with some girlfriends or something, but otherwise I'm at home recharging and decompressing. And that can look different. That can look like binge watching a show. That could look like, watching football all day. That could be, catching up with a friend that's completely out of my world. So I can completely forget about who I am and be like, tell me about your life. What's going on with you?
Yeah, sure.
Those things are just really, really helpful to help me recharge. And then I also get a lot of that reignites my flames. Usually 99% of the time in my DMs when people reach out and they say how much something I've done, just, my daughter saw you on game day and was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that one day as a Black little girl. And that is something that I'm like, okay, keep going. All those little hardships that you're facing, like they are so small compared to the value that you're adding to so many other people's lives. So I would say like managing my energy. I say this often at the end of classes. I got this from a dance class that I used to take here in the city. Before you you finish your workout, you finish something. It doesn't even have to be a workout. It could be game day. And your energy is so high, everything's so great, and you have this energy. Don't just pick up your phone, go on Instagram and scroll and then let that energy be killed. Don't pick up your phone and respond to a friend or a loved one that, is taking from your energy or like, don't resume those arguments. Like take that energy and be like, wow, I helped create this. It's mine. Own this, live it, and then move through it. And who do you want to give it to? Like maybe there's someone that's struggling that you do want to give that positive energy to because it's going to give them that jolt that they need. So just being much more intentional with your energy.
You're saying don't react to the next thing when you're in this moment where you've got a whole lot to give. Don't drop back down into that and react. Tell me this, Jess. I mean, the 10-year-old Jess, right? Get me inside of that. What are you most proud of?
10-year-old Jess was so worried. She was so insecure and thought she had to fix everything and everyone and very rarely focused on herself. So I am so proud of her that she stopped playing it safe and stopped playing it small, and did things that scared her, because that's exactly what this career in fitness and beyond has been for me. It's been scary, but I joked when I made the career leap from education into fitness that it felt like do or die for me. It was like you either stay here in education and continue to do well and impact lives, or you really, really take what you love and chase after it and not be afraid to be in the spotlight while doing it. And that's what I chose, and I haven't looked back.
Life isn't a dress rehearsal, right?
It is not.
All right, so listen, I'm going to hit you with rapid fire. Okay, what is your favorite mantra? Favorite mantra, your go-to mantra.
You don't have to, you get to.
Ooh, cool.
And that goes for everything. And how you do anything is how you do everything.
Good stuff. What's on your playlist right now?
Right now, I love Drake's new album. So I would say anything from Drake's new album.
Got it. What's one thing on your bucket list?
One thing on my bucket list. That's okay. This is exposing me because I don't do a lot of big dreaming like this. To go to Thailand.
Nice.
Boring, but I would like to go.
So if you could have any celebrity crash your Peloton class, who would it be and why?
Kobe Bryant.
Oh, right. Amen.
Kobe Bryant.
Love it.
Hands down.
Totally.
And then if you're going to say alive, I would say Serena Williams.
Is she into that? Do we know?
Yeah. She takes Peloton classes.
Get out.
Yes.
She's the GOAT. What's one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've ever made?
Can I say my dogs?
Nice. Yeah, for sure. They're an investment. Yeah.
They're not cheap. They're not cheap.
I've got two too,
And
I know.
and time. Yeah. So, but I would say my first one has taught me unconditional love and patience. And it's just, I love them both so much. So
That's awesome. So what's a new habit, to use your word, what's a new habit or, that you have adopted in the last year, let's say, that's most improved your life?
meditation, consistent meditation in the morning specifically. But I always do at night as well. And then I try to find at least 5 minutes during the day to stop and breathe and be present.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you use an app that you use to do
Peloton.
Nice.
Peloton, yes. I used to think too that I always had to have the app on in order to meditate, but sometimes in the car, I just literally sit in silence and close my eyes and breathe.
That's smart. I love it. What are you reading right now?
I am reading Jump, and it is about the former president of Jordan Brand.
Cool. All right. Do you love it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Highly recommend.
All right. I'm going to check it out. Okay. So the show's called Game Changer. So one last question. Who or what is a game changer that inspires you and why?
Kobe Bryant, because his mentality, his drive, it's different. And I've always looked up to him. I named my first dog Kobe. And so that's what I learned from him. And then also his ability to take his same drive and passion and apply it to his career after being in the NBA, which was, working with Gigi in women's basketball. So I would say that Kobe Bryant for sure. And Serena Williams, confidence. When that reporter at the end of her match said, are you surprised at the level that you're playing at? And she was like, and she laughed and she was like, I'm just Serena. And that is something that I'm like, oh, that's a game changer because that's unapologetic, not a humble brag. I'm just me. I'm out here doing me and being me. And it's more than enough. And I have completely changed the game.
I love it. So when people start asking you that, I just want to hear, I'm just Jess.
Yeah. So what was it? When I announced Jordan Brand, was it that? It was something. And someone messaged me and they said something. And I said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. And they wrote back. They said, just say, I'm just Jess.
Yeah. I'm just saying that might need to be one of your, I'm just Jess.
I'm just Jess.
Hey, this was fun. You're awesome. Thanks so much.
You're awesome, Molly. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you.
Wow, what a gal. Loved this conversation. Here's a couple of my favorite takeaways. Number one, focus on habits. Think about goals as the direction that you want to go in. But see, your habits, they're what allow you to accomplish those goals. Your habits are what have the power to transform your life. Number two, don't play it safe. Man, I love this one. Stop downplaying your greatness. Do the hard things, the things that scare you. When you do that, you step into your potential. Number three, you don't have to, you get to. If you're a Peloton fan, you'll recognize this one. Jess is big on mantras as a way to recenter and to stay present. This one is her favorite, and it's mine. You don't have to, you get to. Thanks, as always, for listening to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. There you can listen to previous episodes and leave us a review, which helps other people find out about the show. This episode was edited and sound designed by the team at Sound On Studios. You can find out more about their work at soundonsoundoff.com. Check it out. For more about me, visit mollyfletcher.com. Until next time, stay curious and be bold.